Jody won the Nobel Peace Prize in 2006. In 1996 for her incredible work on landmines, and talk about extraordinary work. This is paradigm shifting. This is imagining a world without landmines. But since the Nobel Prize, she's really used that pulpit to organize the other women Nobelists, to talk about sexual violence in wartime, to talk about peace, to talk about, she is a relentless voice for peace.
So what's a nice girl like you doing in landmine work, first of all?
Okay, and second of all, why has your work since Nobel focused on sexual violence?
I think everybody in this room is an activist in one way, in their own way. Everybody has their own journey that got them there. My first protest was the Vietnam War in 1970. It led me to landmines. I worked before that for 11 years trying to stop U.S. military intervention in Central America. We failed. we failed. But out of these experiences, I think what is more important for me as an activist is I became hardwired to believe that if we work together, we can change the world. That is what I learned out of the landmine campaign. This organization does great work on its own. This organization does great work on its own. That organization over there does great work on its own. But imagine what we all can do if we do it together, which does not mean that the individual organization that is part of a coalition loses its uniqueness, loses its identity, and trying to help people really understand that when you strategize together, when you push forward together, you have a hell of a lot more opportunity on a variety of levels of making governments do what they should do anyway. Anytime I see organizations working on, on the same subject in different ways but not communicating with each other, I get mental. I really do, I get mental. It was 2004, we were in Nairobi. It was Shirin Ebadi and myself, and Shirin leans over to me and says, Jody, have you noticed that today there are 7 women alive who received the Nobel Peace Prize? 7. Out of at that point, there were only 12 in the 110-year history of the Peace Prize. And 7 of us were alive. Shouldn't we do something together? And the next day we were meeting with Wangari Maathai, who was named that year, 2004, and from that came the Nobel Women's Initiative. And the whole purpose was to find ways to share the influence and access that we have as recipients of the Peace Prize, to shine the spotlight on women's organizations around the world working for peace with justice and equality. And we now have 700 some odd member organizations, advisory committee of 24 from different countries around the world. I'm very serious. Another campaign that I had to create because the US, among others, is starting to create machines that can kill people on their own. It's just, we have to make people understand that rape is not a woman's issue. The people who are raping are men. Excuse me, I consider that to be a very man's issue. And why is it that we focus all our energy societally on the rape victim? And what happens to all the perpetrators? Why are we not focusing the stigma on the perpetrators? I think we have to stop this business of women's issues. There's something wrong with that. And part of what we want to do is, find ways to gently enlist right-minded men in this effort. And to me, it's also a means of talking about militarism and war, which does lead to violence against women. The campaign is not about making war safe for women. It's about using it as a tool to attack the issues of militarization and the impact that has on us all, men and women. However, I do not think Hillary Clinton is the solution any more than I think that Barack Obama is the solution. I think it's uncomfortable to talk about. What is it that we want to change? Yes, there is merit in getting women in positions of power. But if it's a woman who is buying into the system of power that perpetuates patriarchy and war.
What's the point?
Well, maybe there is a point, but let's not pretend that that is transformative.